This is NHK World, Japan. We now bring you the news from Radio Japan at 11 hours UTC on Thursday, July the 4th. I'm Keith McFarlane.
And I'm Eriko Kojima.
In our top stories, candidates in Japan's upper house election are officially kicking off their campaigns, with voting set for July the 21st.
2 people are dead and at least 5 people have been injured after mudslides and flooding in southwestern Japan.
And Japan has tightened restrictions on exports of some high-tech materials to South Korea, with officials saying it's necessary for security reasons. Now, the news in detail. Candidates in Japan's upper house election are officially kicking off their campaigns, with voting set for July the 21st. A total of 370 people have filed their candidacy for the election. NHK has learned that the percentage of the candidates accounted for by women is a record high 28.1%. The election may prove to be a barometer of public opinion on the current government's 6.5 years in power. It could also become a referendum on the government's key policies, such as raising the consumption tax rate in October as planned. Another key issue is the state pension plan. The election comes after the government rejected a report that says elderly couples may need a large pool of savings to supplement their pensions. The country is dealing with an aging population and shrinking workforce. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said the ruling coalition is aiming to maintain a majority, which is not seen as a very high hurdle. Currently, the upper house has 242 seats. With members elected to staggered 6-year terms, half of the seats are up for grabs in any given upper house election. To correct a disparity in the value of votes cast in different constituencies, the House is adding 3 seats during this and the next election. This means that 124 seats will be filled in the upcoming ballot. Voters will directly choose 74 representatives. The remaining 50 will be selected through proportional representation. The ruling coalition now has 70 seats that are not being contested in this election. In order to keep its majority, it needs to win another 53. Political watchers are eyeing another benchmark. In order to call a national referendum on proposed constitutional amendments, the government would need support from 2/3 of the members of both chambers of the nation's parliament. The ruling coalition has the required numbers in the lower house. If things stay the same after this election, the Prime Minister can rely on pro-amendment forces to reach the required numbers in the upper house. At the same time, opposition leaders want to use this opportunity to expand their power. Official campaigning will continue through July the 20th, the day before the vote.
2 people are dead and at least 5 people have been injured after mudslides and flooding in Kyushu, southwestern Japan. Some areas have seen 1,000 millimeters of rainfall since Friday. That's double what is usually expected for the entire month of July. Evacuation orders were in place for about 800,000 people at one point on Thursday, but Kagoshima City lifted the order for about 595,000 people at 5:45 p.m. Kanoya City also lifted the order for about 100,000 residents at 7 p.m. Authorities say an elderly woman in Kagoshima was found dead after a mudslide destroyed her home. They say she lived alone. Another woman was killed on Monday in a similar incident. Kagoshima has a history of fatal landslips, including one triggered by heavy rain in 1997 that killed 21 people. Authorities say there have been more than 30 landslides in the prefecture in recent days and are urging people to remain on the alert.
Japan has tightened restrictions on exports of some high-tech materials to South Korea, with officials saying it's necessary for security reasons. Seoul, however, believes there is more to the move and has warned of countermeasures. South Korea's Deputy Prime Minister and Economy Minister Hong Nam-ki criticized the restrictions, making the following comment. Japan's move is obvious economic retaliation amid the growing issue of wartime labor. He added that if Japan doesn't withdraw the measure, South Korea will take appropriate action. A dispute between the two countries began last year when South Korean courts ruled that Japanese firms must compensate those who say they were forced to work for the companies during World War II. The Japanese government maintains that the move is simply part of its constant review of trade practices. Officials say shipments of technology that could be used for weapons production must be carefully controlled. Japan on Thursday started tightening rules on the export of some materials used for semiconductors, organic LED displays, and other high-tech products. Exporters need to submit documents describing the purpose of the materials and the way in which they are used. They must also provide a written promise not to allow the products to be used for military purposes. It is expected to take about 90 days before exporters gain permission for shipment.
A U.S. military official has told NHK that China has test-fired missiles from the mainland into disputed waters in the South China Sea for the first time. The official said that the Chinese military launched a total of 6 missiles from the mainland on Sunday, U.S. Pacific time, and they landed in 2 separate areas in the South China Sea. The official said the U.S. military is now analyzing the type of missiles that were fired. NBC News reported that China tested anti-ship ballistic missiles that are believed to possess a precision strike capability against carriers at sea. China's maritime authorities had warned ships not to enter a designated area north of the Spratly Islands in the South China Sea from June 29th to July 3rd due to military exercise. The U.S. has made clear that it opposes moves by China to militarize the South China Sea. The U.S. has frequently sent vessels to areas of the South China Sea claimed by China in what are known as freedom of navigation operations. Observers say China's missile tests are aimed at keeping the U.S. in check.
NHK has learned that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said he has taken note of Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's willingness to meet him without preconditions. Sources familiar with Japan-China relations say Kim made the remark during his meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Pyongyang on June the 20th. The sources say Xi passed on Kim's words to Abe when they met on the sidelines of the Group of 20 summit in Osaka, Japan, in late June. The Chinese leader reportedly quoted Kim as saying that he wanted to be sure of what Abe really meant. Xi told Abe that he assured Kim that China would support any move towards improving Japan-North Korea relations. The sources say Xi also told Abe that China, as a permanent member of the UN Security Council, has consistently implemented the Council's sanctions resolutions against Pyongyang. They say Xi also said that not just applying pressure, but building a relationship based on trust by offering hope will be necessary to resolve outstanding problems. Kim also met U.S. President Donald Trump on Sunday in the truce village of Panmunjom on the demilitarized zone between North Korea and South Korea. How Kim's stance towards Japan could change is being closely watched after these and other developments.
You're listening to Radio Japan of the NHK World Japan Network. The operator of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant has resumed work to remove nuclear fuel from one of the damaged reactor buildings. Each of the plant's reactor buildings has a fuel storage pool inside, separate from the reactors. In April, Tokyo Electric Power Company, or TEPCO, began removing nuclear fuel assemblies from the storage pool at the No. 3 reactor building. Workers transferred 7 fuel units to another pool about 100 meters away before temporarily suspending their work for an inspection of procedures and facilities. The transfers were resumed on Thursday after the safety of the procedure was confirmed. The fuel assemblies are being hoisted out of the pool by remote control because radiation levels in the area remain high. The No. 3 reactor is the first of the 3 that suffered meltdowns to have fuel removed from its storage pool. The other 2 will undergo the process as part of the decommissioning work. The work began more than 4 years behind schedule. TEPCO plans to remove all fuel assemblies in the No. 3 reactor building by the end of March 2021.
Meat from a whale caught in a commercial hunt has gone on sale in the northern Japanese port city of Kushido. The meat comes from whales that were the first taken in a commercial hunt for 31 years after Japan resumed the practice on Monday. Stores in Kushido began selling the minke whale meat on Thursday. It is also available at a market that is popular with tourists. A man in his 30s from Tokyo said the raw whale meat he tried was fresh and did not smell fishy. He added that the thick slices were delicious. Fishmonger Yabe Mamoru said the whale meat costs more than it used to, but people in Kushido have a long history of eating whale, and he thinks prices will soon become more reasonable. Some of the meat from the first catch was also auctioned at a wholesale market in Sendai, in northeastern Japan. Buyers made bids for a total of about 260 kilograms. The cuts used to make what is referred to as whale bacon fetch the highest price at almost $140 a kilogram. The whale meat will mainly be served at restaurants in Miyagi Prefecture.
Sources say the organizers of next year's Tokyo Olympics may hold 2 more ticket lotteries after many people came up empty in the first one. In the first lottery, millions of people are believed to have accessed the 2020 Olympic Games ticketing website before online applications were closed on May 31st. After the results were released on June 20th, many applicants who got no tickets expressed disappointment on social media. This apparently prompted the Games organizers to consider more lotteries. They're said to be planning to hold at least 1 supplementary ticket lottery. This fall, the organizing committee had planned to sell tickets on its official website on a first-come, first-served basis. But sources say the committee may instead hold a 3rd lottery due to concern that heavy website traffic would again make access to the site very difficult.
The Tokyo Fire Department has held a large-scale anti-terrorism drill at a venue for the 2020 Olympics. About 3,300 people, including rescue personnel and anti-terror unit members, took part in the drill at Tokyo Stadium. The facility in Tokyo Prefecture's Chofu City is also known as Ajinomoto Stadium and will be the site of Olympic soccer matches and other events. The exercise was based on a scenario involving the detonation of explosives in the stands. Emergency rescue workers rushed to the scene, set up aid stations, and practiced operations for deciding the order of treatment for those injured based on the degree of urgency. A new special unit to take command in terrorism response situations also took part. Members instructed rescue workers while monitoring real-time footage sent from the stadium to their vehicle. Members of another unit specializing in rescue operations for terrorist attacks wore explosive protection gear to practice taking injured people to ambulances. Department officials say they will carry out more drills so they can swiftly respond to any acts of terrorism that might occur during the Tokyo Olympic and Paralympic Games.
The operator of the Uniqlo casual clothing chain is joining the global effort to slash plastic waste. Fast Retailing says it will switch to eco-friendly paper bags in all 3,500 of its stores worldwide. The firm says the change will take effect from September. It says it may also change the packaging for some products from plastic to paper or other materials. From next January, Uniqlo and GU stores in Japan will charge 10 yen or about 9 cents for paper shopping bags. The idea is to encourage shoppers to bring their own. Fast Retailing officials say that by the end of 2020, they want to cut the volume of plastic waste at its stores by 85%. That would amount to a reduction of 7,800 tons. The firm isn't the first major clothing chain operator in Japan to switch from plastic to paper bags. The Japanese arm of Swedish chain H&M made the change in December.
Finally, let's take another look at the top stories at this hour. Candidates in Japan's upper house election are officially kicking off their campaigns, with voting set for July the 21st. 2 people are dead and at least 5 people have been injured after mudslides and flooding in southwestern Japan. And Japan has tightened restrictions on exports of some high-tech materials to South Korea, with officials saying it's necessary for security reasons. And that was the news from Radio Japan of the NHK World Japan Network. I'm Keith McFarlane.
And I'm Mariko Kojima.